Oh my God, that is my worst nightmare.
Hey guys, welcome back to our podcast.
Hello, welcome back.
We thought it would be fun to start today's podcast with a good old TikTok trend of the we listen and we don't judge. So, Bridget, do you want to go first? How do they do this? You say the phrase in between each one that we do, back and forth?
Yes.
Okay. All right, ready?
Okay.
We listen and we don't judge.
One time,
No.
I got bitten by a dog really bad and didn't seek any medical attention. And then I almost lost my ability to walk and was in the hospital and had 2 surgeries because of my lack of caring for it. And the Center of Disease Control had to test my flesh to make sure I didn't have anything really serious going on. But I almost lost my leg.
How do I follow that? Oh my gosh. Oh, that's so
And I have
unhinged.
a really big scar now.
We listen and we don't judge. One time when I was a baby dog trainer, I had only been training dogs for about a year. I lost a client's dog. I chased it for a mile down railroad tracks. I finally got it. And I never told them.
Oh my God, that is my worst nightmare.
So they don't know about it to this day. Oh,
At least you got him
gosh.
back.
I got it back.
Oh my God.
We ran. I sprinted.
Yeah.
That was the fastest and the longest I've ever ran because my life depended on it to get that dog back.
How did you get him back? Did you just
Do you want the
corner?
truth?
Yeah.
So I'm running. And the dog had an e-collar on, but it didn't know enough to for a recall or anything. So I'm running after this thing and I get within 3 to 4 feet of this dog. I corrected it super high on the e-collar, so it paused for a second and then I just grabbed it.
That's a good one.
And then I carried it and we just walked slowly and quietly, disassociating all the way back.
Sounds right.
And my heart has never fell out of my ass like it did that day in that moment.
I would die. I would simply pass away.
Yeah, it was horrific. We listen and we don't judge.
One time, I had my dog off leash without a recall or any leash at all. And she ended up running away for 5 days and came back and had a broken foot. And it never repaired her whole entire life. And she had to wear a cast. And she came back for the grace of God. But we don't know what happened to her. We don't know how she broke her leg and why there was permanent nerve damage. But don't have your dog off leash if they don't know a recall.
Listen, Bridget, we listen and we don't judge. I bought a doodle puppy from a backyard breeder.
But he ended up being the best guy, didn't he?
He was the best guy. R.I.P.
Not
Poodle.
for the first couple years of his life,
No, he was a nightmare.
Yeah.
I thought he ruined my life.
Yeah.
And then he was the best thing that ever happened to me. So, like Cesar Millan says, you don't get the dog you want, you get the dog you need.
Yes.
We listen and we don't judge.
I have to pull mine up. Let me see. I regularly took my Chihuahua that I knew bit people in the face to bars and put him in this pouch, on the front of me in my college town, and I would pass him around to all the patrons of the bar, and they would just kiss him, and I was too shy to say hey, he bites, don't get in his face. And for the grace of God, he only bit one person, not at the bar, it was at my house, but That's what I did. I took him to the bar with me.
We listen and we don't judge. Keeping with the bar theme, I used to take Cash to bars when he was a puppy, and I would just let him go, and he'd wander around. And he would just wander, and he'd hang out with everybody. And then one time I found him out on the back patio with a random man that I didn't know sitting in his lap, and he was eating a piece of pizza.
Oh, okay. You know what happens.
We listen and we don't judge.
I regularly feel bored with the amount of dogs that I have in my house. And I have a lot of dogs. And I continuously say, what could I do to make myself more stressed out? So I foster dogs that have like really bad backstories and really bad health issues. And I create a lot more stress for myself and my husband and my family in general. But I can't stop.
We listen and we don't judge. I never took Cash to a groomer, and I never brushed him myself for a whole year of the first year of his life. Never brushed him, never took him to a groomer.
Oh my God. Was he matted?
So bad.
Oh my
So
God.
bad. We listen and we don't judge.
Let's see. I used to take my small little chihuahua to a dog park, and he ran around with huskies and pit bulls, and he would chase them and like flood them and like be super, super aggressive. And I thought it was the best thing for him socially was to take him to dog parks. And then one time he got off of his leash and chased the dog outside the dog park and got catapulted up into the air and almost died. And I just remember seeing his body descend from the air, and that changed me mentally.
Is this the one that gave you flashbacks?
Yes.
We listen and we don't judge. I used to get attacked by my Dutch Shepherd because I had no idea how to manage his drive properly when I got him, and that made him handler reactive.
Yeah.
We listen and we don't judge.
One of my favorite things to do with my dogs is give them affection all at the same time and kiss them all. Like take a group of my chihuahuas and just go and kiss them down a line of each other, and do things that I tell my clients not to do. But my dogs don't fight each other. So
we listen and we don't judge. I don't make my dogs wait at their kennel doors. I be opening those things and they be rushing right out.
Oh my God.
We listen and we don't judge.
I regularly have treat parties where I throw a bunch of food on the ground and my dogs all get a little bite of it. And I call it like 52 kibble pickup, and I just throw a bunch of kibbles out. And one time it had failed me. One time my dogs got into a fight, and I don't do it with those two dogs anymore, but I still will do it with my other dogs, and they really like it.
Oh my gosh. No, I'm not. I'm listening and I'm not judging. I'm not judging. We listen and we don't judge. I let Lumos bark out of the window at strangers.
I would.
That come up to my house.
Yeah.
He be barking.
He be barking.
He be barking. He be mean.
Mm-hmm. Good.
We listen and we don't judge.
I have a dog that has really bad teeth, and I know how to get her conditioned to brushing her teeth, but I never do. And I just say I'll do it tomorrow. And every day her teeth get worse and her breath smells disgusting. And it was a large investment in the dog I made. And I really need to start brushing her teeth and getting her adjusted to that.
Mm-hmm. We listen and we don't judge. That's all I got. I'm sure we could sit here and do this all day. It's kind of cathartic.
It is. Like, I know, like, we know our dogs well enough to not put them in situations that are dangerous. I know we're being silly, goofy, funny.
Yeah.
But mistakes in our past have led us to, you know, where we are now and how careful we are with dogs.
Yes.
And how mindful, how delicate we are.
When we're like, I think our last podcast, there was tons of comments, which hilariously, all the internet trolls just proved me right. Because what did I say right before that clip that they clipped to put on the reel? I was like, this is going to piss everybody off. It was going to be a reenactment of the clip that went viral of me saying that, like, your dog is not as important as people. People hated that, and they hated when I said that. Just merely gave them the option. I didn't even say they had to. I just merely presented the option that you could put your dog in a kennel when you have guests over for the holidays.
Yeah.
Or you could not take your dog to the holiday party. People really hated that. They hated it so much. And it's so predictable. We knew that was going to happen, guys. It's like I knew it was going to be rage bait for you.
Yeah.
And you fell right into the trap.
And like Jeff Gellman said on one of his podcasts, like, people don't comment or the like good stuff doesn't go viral. It's only like they want the drama. They want the juice. And that's what goes viral.
Well, and it's sad that that's drama.
Yeah.
Like, that's what you guys find juicy, is just merely putting your dog in a kennel for a little bit.
Yeah, that's pretty sad.
Yeah, it's crazy.
And it's just like a 15-second, not even a 15-second clip of like us saying something, and they don't know the context behind it.
Yeah.
And that's just the way the world works now.
Yeah.
You see a little clip and you're like, okay.
And like a lot of people on that were like, oh, way to be over dramatic. Talk about overkill. No. Everything you guys just heard and everything we always talk about week to week and all the clients we see, we craft our advice that we give you off of very personal experiences with our own dogs. Like I said, I used to get attacked by my own dog. There's nothing more embarrassing than that. And then, has he bit other people? Yes. So I draw from my own failures and my own experiences. When I tell you, hey, if you have an aggressive dog, don't trust that you can just give them to a regular pet sitter or even family and they'll be safe to be around, even if they're good with that family. You want to know why I tell people that? Because I had my parents watching my aggressive dog and he bit their neighbor. Okay? Because they didn't know how to handle him properly in that situation. Is he safe with them? Yes. Does that mean that they are going to know how to handle him properly and make him safe around other people? No. So it's like, we're giving you guys this advice from either direct personal failures and experience where we didn't manage things properly, or because our clients have gone through something like that.
Yes.
And so we're drawing from that. So it's not that we're like, being so over dramatic when we say, hey, guess what? Your ideal option, if you're not confident that your dog is going to kill it on Christmas when you have 25 relatives over, is to put him in the kennel. Because going in the kennel for 6 hours is so much more preferable than them biting somebody, them jumping on grandma and knocking him over, them eating your Christmas ham and ruining dinner. Like, that option is so much more preferable. But people lose their fucking minds when you tell them that their dog needs to be a dog for a day.
It's like coming from a very egotistical part of people, I feel like, because they're like, my dog is the best. Everybody loves my dog. Everybody wants to be around my dog. And not everybody does. And we have to prioritize like human safety, unfortunately. I know a lot of you don't like that over a dog being out or crated, you know? So we have to stop being selfish with the way that we think about things and do what's best for, like, I could never imagine my mom coming over and she didn't like one of my dogs. And I was like, well, the dog's going to be out. Like, my dogs are away. Like,
it's crazy. It's really insane. Like, some of the responses that we've gotten on there, I mean, it's just an old record at this point because it's all the same topic, but people really are unhinged. Like, your dog will survive. And there's been a couple people that have acknowledged and been like, guys, like, this isn't even about like your guests hating your dog and putting your dog away. It's maybe your dog doesn't want to be there.
Yeah.
Like, have you ever thought about that?
There are some
like,
people that said that in the comments, and I was like,
yeah,
hey, good for you.
Yeah. Like they're some people are getting it, but it's crazy that's such an easy content to put out that is gonna like really piss people off.
Yeah.
And it's a little disheartening.
It is. Like,
but guess what? In the amount of time that we made our last podcast about how you can make things as safe as possible for people, and a week later, you know how many stories I've heard of people being killed by their dogs?
Or
3.
People attacking or dogs attacking people for like holidays and stuff. It's like way to ruin the holiday. Like,
There was just a guy that was just killed by his 3 dogs that he was on a walk with. There was a small girl, a child, that was killed by her family's 2 pit bulls. And then there was, they were Rottweilers. One was a Rottweiler and one was a Rottie mix. And then there was a 3rd story, and I can't remember the exact details. But like, stop calling me fucking over dramatic. Like, this is insane. Like, I'm not being over dramatic. Like, you can't go on the internet, and look at all of the dog bites and all of the dog attacks, and then say that us being like, hey, maybe it's best that when you're gonna have chaos in your house with a bunch of strangers that your dog has never met, maybe you just put them away for a little bit.
Yes.
But we're the over dramatic ones.
Yeah. There's definitely times that like people are so judgmental about dogs and like trainers, and everybody thinks their way is the best. It's like, okay, then do what works for you. Don't follow our advice if you don't want to, but don't come crying to me when shit pops off, you know?
Yeah. Someone commented it and was like, oh, just another American suburban girl with a microphone thinks she can have a podcast.
Yeah.
We train dogs, so we're talking about dog training.
Yeah.
We're not just like, to me, I could see where they're coming from if we were just like 2 dog owners being like, let's sit down and talk about the inner workings of dogs. Like, there's a couple TikToks accounts that I can think of off the top of my head that actually drive me up a fucking wall, because they're just dog owners with a dog that make content acting like they know everything about dog training and like advising people what to do and what not to do and breed education and this and that. And I'm like, you've interacted with 1 dog.
Yeah.
Maybe you don't do that.
Yeah. It's pretty crazy. There are some times where I listen and I do judge. So.
Yeah, I judge a lot.
Yeah.
I judge a lot.
I think it's natural.
I don't judge my clients, because you come to get help and you're working on it. But I do judge some people on the internet because I don't know. I guess we live in a culture that's different now, but like, stop asking for dog training advice on the internet. Don't do that. It's not going to get you anywhere good.
Yeah.
The advice is not going to be good. And also, like, respect our profession and pay someone.
Yeah.
Like, it's kind of frustrating sometimes when people are like, oh my gosh, I need a dog trainer to help me. If you can give me any advice, how about you go on the internet or even social media and you look for, like dog trainers that have credibility, and then you actually like pay them and seek out their services rather than begging for free advice on the internet.
Yes. Like, and also recently, like, if you don't know or going to experience a certain like lessons with dogs, then you should not judge that. Like, unless you're doing something really unsafe. Like, there was a video of a dog chasing cars, and I got back and forth in the TikTok comments, and this girl was like, what are your credentials? Where is your certificate?
Where are your credentials to judge my credentials?
You took a year and a half of, like, PowerPoint and had a book that told you that punishment was wrong.
ABCs of dog training.
Yeah.
And took an online course.
You think that you're a dog trainer because you took that class and you get a piece of paper where any, like, any Miracle Canine could create a certification, and we could sell that to people. We could be like, you're certified.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, we could have our own school.
Yeah.
Like anytime we have those like shadow students come, we could literally come up with some program where it's like, oh, now you're accredited by Miracle Canine Training and our training techniques. Like, guys, if anyone's trying to tell you that there are certifications you should have when it comes to being a dog trainer,
an unregulated industry,
they're bullshitting you.
Yeah. Because there's too much politics within dog training to isolate it into one method only.
Yeah.
And that's never going to happen, like positive only or force free. Like, yes, we can have the education behind, which both of us do, about like operant conditioning and all the fancy terms and words. And like, I know that shit probably better than a lot of these force free trainers that are like, we can never use punishment.
Well, and that's where like, if you look into actual like scientists who understand learning theory and things like that, like people with actual degrees, right? Where there is an actual credibility behind them because they went to an actual university and got animal behavior like credibility. Even they will tell you, yeah, punishment works. To say that it doesn't is completely contradictory to all of the proof. You know what I mean? Of like how animals and humans and everybody learns. So it's like, even on maybe a personal level, they might say like, but I don't really prefer to use it. But you can't tell me it doesn't work. Yeah. Or that it creates these bigger problems in the long run.
That's
like
silly. It's
so silly. Like there's so many, I can't think of the names of their accounts, but there's a couple women on Instagram that I follow that are actual scientists and dog trainers. And they're like the first ones to tell you that like, it works. And trying to sit here and like pretend that there's all these studies that prove that there's fallout from all of this and that. It's all skewed and biased information. None of it is actually accurate. I truly don't even know how you could do like scientific trials to prove punishment and dog training to be a more effective route to take, because there's so many added variables that you can't control for. Who's doing the punishing? Do they know how to do it properly?
Is timing good? Like, how are they punishing? Is it consistent?
Yeah.
Are they doing it every time?
What kind of dogs are they using? What personality types? What, you know what I mean? Like,
what behaviors are you correcting?
There's no way to create like a solid control group to even do like a scientific method on, because there's so many variables. And that's why for me, like, dog training is practical, it's tactical. You have to actually do it. If you're taking like an online accreditation or something like that, like I don't get it. How are you actually seeing these things applied in real time? You can't sit on the internet and watch videos or read a book or whatever. Yeah, and like see it actually practically applied to the point where
to your dog that you already have a built relationship with and that like already likes and respects you. Exactly. Versus like your dog trying to actively bite you or harm you by pulling you into the street or doing whatever. Like, I'm sorry, we don't have the luxury of time, 6 months to like help the client. Maybe the dog doesn't lunge at this car, but he lunges at that car. Yeah. It's like you have to get that kind of dangerous behavior under control immediately. And then we can start like adding positive reinforcements.
Yeah. And like I have a client recently. He has a Vizsla puppy that he got to be a gun dog for him. And then he came here to learn how to do more of like the pet side of stuff. Cause he's like, this is going to be a house dog with my family. He's like, and so I want to make sure that the behavior in the house is good. And it can be a pet as long as, as well as needing to do the hunting stuff with me. And I think this was maybe his third lesson or so. And he brought one of his buddies who's like an older guy. And, he was just hanging out during the lesson. And, we're just talking and whatever. And I find out that this older man that he brought was he used to train police canines. And he titled dogs in the highest level of Schutzen and like protection sports and stuff like that. Like he's a very like seasoned trainer with a lot of experience and success. And at the end of the lesson, he turned to the kid who was my client, and he's like, yeah, she knows what she's doing. She knows what she's doing. And like to hear that from somebody who obviously like has the credibility to like back it up, that was like obviously very encouraging. But I thought it was cool because he even pointed out, he's like, it's all about training the dog in front of you. He's like, you got to be able to adapt. You know, when you bring a dog in, he's like, there's no like solid formula, you know, for every dog. Like it's always going to be a little bit different. And so it was just kind of fun, like being able to like, you know, bullshit with somebody who had as much experience training dogs as he did. It was kind of fun. Yeah. But it's like, again, those are like the moments where I'm like, who do you think I'm going to listen to? You know what I mean? Like people that I'm with on a day-to-day basis that like see how I interact with dogs and stuff like that. Or the trolls on the internet that are like,
that have never met me, have never seen my work. Like,
yeah,
it doesn't matter.
No,
nothing matters.
No, it really doesn't. With their online accreditations.
Yes.
It's almost a red flag to me if I see someone puts all those little like letters behind their name on like their Instagrams or
certified
stuff.
Professional dog trainer.
Yeah.
Like I looked into that once, and it was like 2 years of like book studies, and then you had to get like 300 hours at a training facility.
Yeah.
And I have more than 300 hours at a training facility.
Yeah.
And I have my bachelor's in animal behavior. So what else do you want?
Yeah, exactly.
Me to have a little certificate
right.
from the professional dog training organization that just takes your money.
Yeah. Yeah, it's kind of wild. And don't get me wrong, like there are a lot of trainers that I think are extremely credible that you can take courses underneath. Like Ivan, you know, has his own training without conflict school. I would love to go to that.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like there's Mike with Logan House, Mike Suttle. He does like puppy imprinting courses, and like I would love to go to some of his courses. So there's a lot of people that I see a lot of value in taking their courses and learning. But again, it's practical learning. It's not just like, oh, here's my internet course that you can buy and take. Like you have to go there and you have to be present so you can see them work with dogs and you can work with dogs, and it's just a whole different dynamic.
I think something you mentioned is like a place that you worked formerly would be really secretive about their methods because they didn't want anybody else to get it, or they wanted to like maybe sell packages. And then people are always like, why are you so transparent? You're giving away all your secrets. Like, I could give you a detailed list by list of how to train a dog from the start to the end, and you're going to have problems with it in between. Because it's not going to go the way that it's written in paper or on book. It just doesn't work that way. It's like you're training an animal that is a living, breathing, has autonomy. And sometimes it doesn't go as planned.
No, I agree. They were very secretive about all of it, and it was the secret sauce, and nobody can know. And I'm like, aren't we selling ourselves a little bit short to think that even if they did know, you really think anybody could just recreate it? Like, no, that's not really how it works. Like, even with my clients, like, and I'm sure you do the same as well, there's so many factors that go into how I decide even that I'm going to teach a different obedience command. So like, am I going to do mainly prong as negative reinforcement? Am I going to even maybe do some luring instead? Am I going to do any negative reinforcement stim with an e-collar? Am I going to jump straight to just enforcing it with the e-collar for positive punishment? Am I going, there's like so many different ways that you could just teach a bed stay or establish a bed stay. And you have to be able to look at the dog and figure out, okay, so I think that they're at a place where we could immediately go to e-collar. Maybe we need to do continuous stim for a little bit. And also, what is the owner going to be able to manage? Are they coordinated enough that you think you could do this technique versus this one? And so it takes a lot of like experience and trial and error to figure that out along the way, to hopefully then give your current set of clients like a smooth ride all the way through their lessons, where they don't feel I want to make it as easy for them to do everything as possible.
Yes. And it takes a certain amount of people skills too. And it's skill of experience. Like a newer dog trainer is not going to be nearly as experienced as like a seasoned dog trainer. And I'm just getting to the point where like I've had 6 years under my belt now of training dogs, and it's like all making sense. I feel really confident in what I'm doing. But previously in my first like year, 2 years, even 3 to 4 years, I wasn't that confident.
Yeah.
Until I started doing like private lessons, and then I just saw training differently from doing private lessons.
Yeah. Private lessons can be very eye-opening.
Yes.
I think it gives you a lot of room to experiment, because you're seeing more dogs and you're seeing more humans, and you can actively see them apply, because you have to then learn with a board and train, you learn how to just train a dog, and that's super valuable. And I think everyone should be able to have access to doing board and trains at the beginning of their career, because you need to know how to train a dog before you can teach a human how to train a dog. And so I think that's very important. And then once you feel pretty like confident on the techniques you're using to train a dog, then when you start coaching a human on how to do those techniques to train that dog, it will amplify any holes that you have in your techniques, in your communication skills towards the people, being able to back up why it's important. Like it will amplify your good traits, and then it will amplify any negative traits that you have in holes in your training, and forces you to kind of work through those.
Yes. And it's definitely like a push. Like we talk about all the time, this is a sink or swim career, where you can't have somebody hold your hand and tell you all the answers every step of the way. It's like you have to experience the hardships for yourself. And because of those hardships, you grow and you learn from your experiences. Like our silly, like, listen, we don't judge, like all of those experiences.
They sucked.
Yeah, they sucked. And I look back and I'm like, why was I so freaking stupid?
Yeah.
Like,
you don't know what you don't know, man.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I would venture to say that, and if you haven't, you're very lucky, and do everything in your power to make sure it doesn't happen. But I would venture to say there's probably every dog trainer, depending on how long you've been doing it, has like lost a dog at some point. Like it's gotten loose. It's got like something has happened where, you know, you have a moment like I did where you're just like, fuck, like I have to get this dog back. Like, and thankfully in that moment, like I never lost sight of the dog, and I was able to rectify the situation somewhat immediately. And I think how you handle situations like that is extremely important. And again, this was literally like 10 years ago, you know, when I first started training dogs. But that situation scared me so much that I have never forgotten about it. And I have made sure that that has never happened again. Never going to happen again.
Yes.
And so it's important that you take those, you look back on your, you know, we listen and we don't judge moments, and you judge yourself and you fix it, and you make sure that ideally that's not going to happen. So even like all my clients that come in with doodles, I always make it a point to go over making sure the dog is good for being groomed, how important the grooming is, and they're aware of that, and how high maintenance it is, because I was so shitty about it with my dog. And I didn't know any better, and I didn't understand. And so that's me trying to, like, you know, make reparations for cash.
And I mean, it happens. Like, and it's good to have somebody that has had experiences. Like, every dog trainer out there, if they can't tell you about like one humiliating experience that they've had, they're lying. Like, there's a lot that goes on in this world that like is really hard to deal with. And I think we're as careful as we are now with situations and over dramatic as we are now because we've experienced going through them, and like that feeling when your dog runs away or a dog runs away.
And you're welcome. Because when we were going through all of this, especially when I was going through all this, the community, the dog training community was not this. Like, we didn't have, like, social media was barely a thing. There was not like a easily accessible way of getting like information to learn from other people's mistakes. Like, you were pretty much just, you had access. Yeah. You had access to people you knew, and then maybe people they knew, you know what I mean? But you weren't really, you couldn't just go on the internet and access like Jeff Gelman videos and like our videos and stuff like that and really be able to like see it and learn from it. You just kind of had to do trial and error and figure it out. I mean, just today I did a lesson with someone, and he was asking a ton of questions about the e-collar and how it works and all that kind of stuff. And he's like, man, these are like way more advanced. He's like, I remember we had an e-collar for a dog. This was probably like, I think he said like 30 years ago, which tracks. And he was like, you really had like one setting and that's it. And it sucked. He's like, and I remember those e-collars. You literally had to like, you would change the level on the collar itself. And then you just had like one button. And that was about it.
Yeah. Technology's changed a lot.
In such a short amount of time, really.
And back when I was like first struggling with my dog Nelson, I watched Zach George videos and they didn't work. And I was really frustrated because it wasn't working. And you can even make a video showing people direct steps of how to work a dog. And if it's a different dog that they're working with, it's gonna be different challenges.
It's gonna be different. Yeah. So dog training is so, and this is why a lot of people say it's an art more than it is a science. There are scientific elements to it, but it's very much an art. There is a style and an artistic way about it that you just have to have kind of that innate. And yes, some people are kind of born with that innate instinct. And then some people just have to practice and hone it and learn it over time. But it is very stylistic and more artistic than I'd say it is a specific, solid, like scientific process.
Sure is,
But yeah, thanks for joining us today, guys.
Thanks, guys.
Let's hear your we listen and we don't judge.
Yes, we won't judge you.
We'll listen.
Yeah,
we
won't
listen.
Judge. So, thanks.
Have a good holiday season.
Happy holidays.